Where to start even? Hello and welcome to my channel today. This is a variety channel where I cover a bunch of different topics depending on what projects I have going on and what things interest me. And today's video is going to be part 2 of my house project. So today I'm going to discuss the status of that project. One of the things I wanted to do with this house project is sort of give a view of a regular, average, sort of middle-class person trying to build a house and do a project. Like I've mentioned in my previous video, I've watched a lot of house building projects and renovation projects, and how it doesn't feel like what I'm watching is necessarily what my experience would be. So when I first conceived of turning my house rebuild into a video, I wanted to make sure that I could talk about as much real people experience that I could. And well, you're about to hear real person experience. And just a trigger warning for anybody. While I've had this channel for over 5 years now, I have never really talked about anything political, and all things considered, that's going to change today because it's directly related to the decision I had to make. I'm going to try to keep it tight and to the point if I can. If I go off the rails, I'll cut it and stick it at the end of the video. Just to get you up to speed, this is April 2025, and this is the month I am supposed to be tearing down my house to rebuild a new house. And so I've come to talk to you about that project because in the last video I did mention some barriers that might present themselves. And today I'm here to talk about those barriers. Before I get started on this, I want to acknowledge that it's quite a privilege to be able to even talk about building a new house with any sense of reality. And there is a long history behind how I'm able to afford this, which I can cover in a video someday if anybody's interested. So having said that, I got almost all of my estimates in, and it's become clear that it's going to be more expensive than I thought it was. And obviously I knew it was going to be more expensive, but it's a little bit more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And I do have enough savings that if I wanted to, I could go through with the project, but it would require me draining all of my savings accounts. And currently, I don't think that's a good idea. Not that it's ever a good idea, but it's even worse of an idea right now. The information that I've used to come up with this decision, that I was able to remember to bookmark and stuff, I will put in the description below, and then I'll also put it on my website where I put my resources for my videos. So, I think you can guess already the status of my house project. And I will tell you what I told my builder in the 3-hour meeting I had with him a couple weeks ago. A lot of considerations went into making the decision I had to make. I have been following financial news pretty closely now since October of last year because I was anticipating this project and I wanted to make sure that I was making the right financial decision at the right financial decision time. This is going to be the single most expensive, most costly investment I'm going to make in my entire life, hands down. And so I approached it wanting to do my due diligence and pay attention. Now, I don't have investments. I don't fuck around with the stock market. I have a little basket of trash that's somewhere in there that's not making any money. That does not impact my decision at all, other than the stock market impacts the country and its finances, which turns around and impacts all of us. So I followed a lot of news. I was reading economists. I was listening to people who are investors in the stock market, most notably a name that some of you are going to balk at, some of you are going to roll your eyes at, But I listened to This is Politics US with Anthony Scaramucci and Kite, who is a BBC contributor. And I find his assessment to be pretty important to the decisions that I made, because he kind of reinforced what I was already assuming. And there are other problems that I see in the future. So yeah, I guess that's the long way to saying I'm not building my house this year. I am obviously disappointed, but given how I feel about the trajectory of this country right now, I am very happy that I'm not building a house right now, because it seems to be very risky for a number of different reasons. And that's not just hyperbolic. In watching and listening and reading news about finances, I've come across numbers of articles of companies who are no longer going through with building projects and canceling projects, scaling back on things. And ultimately what it came down to is, if these big companies who can absorb risk, who can take big risks, are not feeling comfortable taking big risks, then me, who definitely cannot absorb risks and is very, it would be very risky, say, emptying my bank account, I took that as a sign that this is not the right time to build. The universe was throwing up red flags all over for me, and I listened. So unfortunately, despite the fact that I've been working on this new house build for several years now, and the house does need to be rebuilt, and if you want to know more about why it has to be rebuilt, go ahead and take a look at my first video of this house build for 2025, where I talk about the different problems with the house. While the house does have all those problems, it will stay standing for a few more years, maybe a lot more years, but not in any healthy way. So now the plan is to, I guess, just keep saving money for the down payment, which is, when you house build, like I mentioned before, is 20% of the cost, which is a hard cost to come up with right now, given the tariffs. For instance, like how long the 25% tariffs on gypsum is going to be from Mexico, because gypsum is what they put in sheetrock, and so the higher the price of the gypsum, the higher price of sheetrock. Soft lumber from Canada, metal from other countries, because as I mentioned before, my house will have metal siding and metal roofing. And so pretty much everything about building a house just got way more expensive, and who knows how long it'll be that expensive for. So for right now, I'd love to say that next year I'll break ground, I'll tear down the house and break ground on the new house, but I can't even say that at this point. And that's what happens when there's too much instability in a country. So I always like to look at the positive side of things when something goes wrong. And this has given me time to revisit the house plan. And I've already done some adjustments, and I've taken off quite a few hundred square feet, because I've also reconsidered the overall purposes I had for the design. One day I will sit down with you and I'll show you the blueprints that the drafters come up with, and then I'll show you the changes, and I'll talk to you about all the things that I considered, in case you're interested in what goes into planning a house. I have some experience with that kind of thing. Unfortunately, it will still remain pretty expensive, because the most expensive parts about building a house are the bathrooms and the kitchens. The bathrooms and the kitchens, the bathrooms and the kitchen. And those are something I am not willing to compromise on, because I want the amount of bathrooms that are on my plan. So yeah, I like to think that if certain circumstances were different right now, I would be feeling much more comfortable taking a big risk. But with the constant tariff shit, and a likely war with Iran coming, and bird flu not being kept under control in any meaningful way, risking mutations of the virus and risking another pandemic. Just the overall economic recession that economists, or stagflation, economists are anticipating, the collapse of tourism in the country because we've pissed off so many people. Yeah, it's just not a good time. It's not a good time. So I want to thank everybody who wanted this, because you're making it great for everybody. Super cool. Not bitter at all. I guess though, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be magic. It just doesn't really, no signs point to that. There are no economists worth their salt who see this as a positive thing. There are no successful business people who haven't sold their soul who think that this is a good idea. So, all right, I'm going off track there. I'm told that this is what people wanted. Higher prices, apparently, and economic instability and global instability. So, with that in mind, why the fuck would I want to build a house right now? In addition, if you're still here, congratulations. Here's a little bit more information. One of the other barriers I've come up across is tradespeople and people just not being responsive and getting the estimates in a timely manner. And that has been super frustrating. And this experience has really highlighted to me, you know, when you drive through small towns in America and so many of the houses are falling down and dilapidated and don't look cared for, I'm here to tell you it's not always their fault. I live in a small town. It's less than 2,000 people. And it is incredibly difficult to find anybody who is able to do any sort of trade work. In addition to them being very expensive, they're very busy because there's not enough of them. And so I just wanted to take this opportunity to say, like, when you're driving through small town America, and if you've ever been prone to judging the quality of the housing there, it's something to consider. I know a lot of people who haven't had experiences living in small towns. It's not something that everybody understands. Small town life is different. In many ways, difficult and frustrating. Why do I choose to stay? It's a complicated reason, and if you're asking that, you are not the first person to ask. Everybody from my mom, my dad, my brother, to my builder himself, who lives in this town, questions why I want to stay. So that's fun. Anyway, this was really rambling, and I've been really stressed, and but the good news is, for anybody watching this channel, I will be getting back into the kitchen. I have quite a few kitchen projects that I've been working on organizing, so that'll be fun. Maybe even some gardening stuff, because I have started my plants, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about gardening this summer. And then I still have all those cats, all 11 cats. And I'm almost done with the shed so that they can be taken out of my studio space, so that I can get back to painting and sewing and all the other crafts that I like to do. And maybe some of that will, I'll make a video on some of that or something. Because this year I was planning on pretty much exclusively making house building content. And since that is not happening, now I'm open. I'm open to suggestions. If there's a project that you want me to do or something you want me to research and tell you about or whatever, just let me know. I could definitely use the distraction. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, especially if you've made it this far. If you've made it this far, why haven't you subscribed yet? I could really use the help. I'm hoping to get to 1,000 by my 6-year YouTube anniversary. Anyway, I wanted to get a video out. It's been a while, and I've been trying to figure out a fun or interesting way to tell you guys that I don't get to build my house or whatever. And there's no way. There's no fun, interesting way. If you're a smart person, you absolutely understand why I'm not building. And if you don't understand why I'm not building, then you need to pay fucking attention. Real attention. Like real attention. Anyway, I guess that's it. Thank you for stopping by, and thank you for making it this far. And as always, have a wonderful day. Hi, guys. Hi. Hi. Tucker, are you out of the cage? Are you out of the cage? Hi, Sylvie. Hi, Sylvie. I'm going to show everybody all the dirty mess you make in my studio now. Hey? Hi, Mama. Hi, Mush Mush. Oh, that cute little mush. Hi, sweetie. Ready to go back in your cage? Ready to go back in? Hi, Silvers. Hi, Silvers. Hi. Hi, Sylvie. Tucker.